This frame was lit using reductive lighting techniques. It didn't need to be, but that was the process I chose to light most of the frames in this motion picture, entitled Kezon's Game. This frame, however, was set up using additive lighting techniques. It would have been very difficult to use reductive lighting on this frame. So what is meant by additive lighting? The sun is just hidden behind the porch canopy, casting a very nice rim light on the talons. To maintain the detail in the sky, I needed to stop down my aperture to f22. If I opened up any more, all the background would wash out and the detail would be lost. The radio, which is the hero of this shot, and a beautiful actual antique, needed to be seen clearly, but it was naturally in shadow with an exposure of f4. That ratio of 5 stops would mean I would have to choose, either capturing the detail in the sky or the detail on the radio. To capture both, I would need to balance the exposure, so in this case, it was easier to focus a very strong light onto the radio, so the exposure was closer to the exposure of the sky, f16. I used a Kinetec Supernova, which is a 4K parabolic with 4 1K Superspot bulbs that converge to a very tight focus point. It was placed here just off the left of the frame. If it was not there, the radio would have been as dark as this silhouetted shirt. Both additive and reductive lighting techniques are used to balance exposures. This frame used reductive techniques to balance the exposure. I shot this frame with only 1100 watts. You could plug that into a standard outlet without need for a generator. The backlight on the table, and previously the talent separator, was hidden just behind this arch. I used a Kinetec Bud Light 1K parabolic. I find parabolics give a crisp and clear light, but any light in the same place would have given a similar effect. These are tiny spotlights with similar properties to a Dido light, just smaller and less powerful. I used another 50 watt to separate the cook from the darkness of the open oven. The ambient fill came from the practical lights that were part of the location. I liked the look of the shot with hardly any light. It was very fast to set up and not too hot for the actors. My exposure was 2.8, but the light coming from outside was f16. Conventional lighting techniques, additive techniques, would require me to bring up the exposure in the kitchen to f16 to get a balanced exposure. But that would require a lot of lights, time to set up, and a generator to supply all the power to the lights. Alternatively, you can use tools to reduce the light coming from the doorway. I did this with a large scrim. This is not an expensive piece of equipment. In fact, it's not equipment at all. Just a roll of black cloth I got from a fabric shop, costing around $5 a meter. This particular cloth is stretchable. The more you stretch it, the more light it lets through. We mounted it with 2 aluminum poles from the Kinetec waffle kit and regular spring clamps. To protect the historical building we were shooting in, we put tennis balls over the end of the poles. I used the same reductive techniques here in this second floor window. And here, on this close-up, this entire scene was shot with available light, starting from outside the location. I wanted to maintain that natural light look, but the interior was naturally 6 stops darker than the exterior.
Oh, Consul General.
To balance the light in this shot, I used silks hanging above the outside of the door to reduce the sunlight on the pavement, and the black cloth scrim stretched over a 4x4 frame from the Kinetec Dopp Kit to reduce the exposure of the background. The talents were lit only with the ambient light in the location. The Dopp Kit is a set of aluminum frames with grip and connectors that can be set up in different configurations. They come with an array of rag covers like scrims, reflectors, bleach whites, and many others. I always shoot with them. I find it a very useful tool. But these frames can be made simply with 1x1 wood planks. If you know what to look for, you can see very clearly the actor, Paul Holm, duck under the frame as he exits the shot. I used reductive lighting throughout this movie. and it has become my default style for most of my work, unless it is not feasible for a particular shot. It is a new style of cinematography for a new breed of cinematographers. I hope this film has been useful to you.